Hello! We are Carrie and Demir from Lifehack Bootcamp, and today we're going to be talking about how we can get productive by systematizing our life. And this is obviously extremely hot right now, and so we're really excited to talk about this. But Demir, can you talk a little bit about who we are and what we're doing?
Yeah, so Lifehack Bootcamp, we are productivity and systems trainers. We show people, we've been lucky enough to develop a system that's been able to teach people how to automate their business, automate their life, create the freedom lifestyle of their dreams.
Yeah, and at the end of this Facebook Live, we're going to have a special giveaway as well. So make sure to stay to the end to learn more about that. So just to kick this off, a lot of us here are small business owners, right? And I know I did, at least when I started my business, I really was out to create more time and more flexibility in my schedule. I wanted to be in control. I wanted to be able to do what I wanted when I wanted. And I feel like for a lot of small business owners today, that's simply not the case. In fact, the reverse is true, which is, your clients are in control of your time. You have no flexibility in your schedule. You're working endless hours. You probably can't remember when you last took vacation. And I know for some people, it's particularly painful when you have months where your employees are getting paid more than you're getting paid.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, so what we really feel so fortunate here at Lifehack Bootcamp. We've been so successful with Lifehack Bootcamp, and here inside our program is where we teach our clients how to escape being trapped in their businesses and in their jobs so that they can create that time and freedom and space in their lives.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy really when you think about it that, the dream of what you're doing in creating a business is so far separated from the reality. It's almost like being an actor. People think an actor's life is like amazing, and really you're sitting on set waiting for 50 hours in total boredom. And the variance between what people thought that creating a small business was going to be and what it is crazy. So we see people thinking what, right? They think, I'm going to create a ton of money. And in reality,
yes, right. It's like, barely enough to get by, and I'm gonna be my own boss, so no one can tell me when I can work. And in reality, you're working more hours.
So that's
than
number
you ever
two,
did.
right? So if number one is, I think I'm going to make all this money,
Yeah.
the reality is that actually you're making less than your accountant's making, right? Number two, I'm going to be my own boss.
Yeah.
Right? And what's the reality?
The reality is, your clients are kind of your boss.
Oh man, you're basically working for everybody else. Like,
Yeah.
everybody's pushing you around instead of just one person pushing you around.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of what we want to address here today in this Facebook Live, which is how can you break out of that paradigm and into a paradigm that is more like what you wanted in the first place, which is where you can systematize your life to have that time and space freedom. And we've worked with some really amazing individuals from, PepsiCo, Uber, Lexar, Google, other corporations.
Small business owners, solopreneurs, people starting their side project.
Yeah, top celebrities and their teams to make them more efficient behind the scenes so that they can learn the systems and processes they need to become massively productive. And so our coaching and systems have been featured in Forbes, Bloomberg, Huffington Post, and our trainers have been featured on national TV as well. On networks like CNBC and Fox Business News and others. And it's because we get incredible results for our clients who really see their lives transform when we can get them the systems and processes they need to become massively more productive.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's so simple, guys. We want to actually show people how to get what they wanted to get when they started their business. And that's simple. They wanted to make money in their business. We show people how to really be profitable and create the systems that create profitability. They wanted freedom. They wanted to be able to take extended vacations and work from the road. We show people how to do that and create the systems so that they're not trapped in their business and they can actually liberate themselves from their business. And also we show people how to scale. A lot of people thought, I ultimately am going to get this business running itself, and that's sort of a joke, right? I mean, your business isn't running itself, it's running you. And so we show people how to create the systems and use technology so that they can really finally realize the dream and what they originally envisioned when they created their own business, which is full lifestyle automation, a business that's running itself and making a ton of money. And we've been lucky enough to do that with some really high-profile people over the years.
And we've also systematized our own life so that we can run and grow our business from anywhere in the world.
Absolutely.
And in fact, right now we're joining you here from Bali, Indonesia, from our villa where we've been able, we've been here for the past several months as we travel and complete around the world trip. There's a pool behind us, so you can't really see that so well. So this is poolside productivity for any of you who are new to our Facebook Live show. As part of our system here at Lifehack Bootcamp, we've developed an entire method for creating productivity mastery for yourself and your business, building it up from a personal level of mastery all the way up to systems and team mastery, where you're getting the work of 4 people done in like 20 hours a week.
Yeah, because, guys, it's really simple. A lot of the fundamentals that people overlook, time management, prioritization, those need to be in place before you can get to the more advanced stuff. It's just like playing basketball, right? You can't make it to the NBA playoffs if you're terrible at your free throw shot, if you're terrible at dribbling. So the fundamentals really add up to the spectacular performances that people are looking for. And the people that you look at 9 times out of 10 and you admire, actually, if you peek behind the curtain, you would find incredibly productive systems and personal habits. And so we really believe strongly that productivity builds from strong, solid foundations, but goes all the way up into systems that actually get work done for you.
Amazing. And today we're going to share the top 3 things you need to do if you want to systematize your life and start creating that freedom. And remember, we do have a giveaway at the end as well. So stay on to hear more about that. We're going to be
and you guys are lucky. And you guys are lucky because Carrie is the absolute guru in terms of this. I mean, we're both life hackers. We love systems. But Carrie has single-handedly created a business where we're managing 5 full-time employees and about 20 contractors on a daily basis as we travel and roam the world. And that's the kind of infrastructure that Carrie's put in place. That's really where a lot of people would like their business to be. And so you get the opportunity to really get not just my advice, but from Carrie and Carrie's perspective. And I can say this about you. You can't say it about yourself. But believe me, behind the scenes, Carrie is the guru in terms of creating systems that really are idiot-proof, bulletproof, and foolproof.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times we see people say, on the covers of magazines or whatever, and they're doing all these cool things, and you think, wow, they must have, a team of 100 people working on their behalf to make this all happen behind the scenes. And the truth is, you don't need 100 people. You can do it on your own, maybe with the help of 1 or 2 additional people. And a lot more is possible than you think when you have these systems in place.
In fact, there's something you say, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but one of the things that you say a lot, I think you got it from somewhere, is that when you have to hire a person into a process, it means that you failed. And a lot of people, I want to get your take on this, because a lot of people will say, oh, I've got a company of 100 people, or we have 200 people, as if the number of people that you have is like this badge of honor. And it's interesting because Carrie's perspective is that when we have to hire somebody, it was a failure, right? So how do you think about that?
Yeah, basically just exactly like that, which is systems are designed so you can get work done without a person having to be there to do it, or with very minimal assistance from a person. So if you do need to hire someone into a role, that's obviously good and fine. It can indicate that your business is growing, but it could also indicate that your business is very inefficient and can't manage it with the existing resources that you have. So, but however, we do see kind of top 3 big issues that people kind of run into when they're starting down this journey. So we want to address those first, because without understanding the issues, you're not going to be able to understand how to start down this road. So can I go over the first one?
Yeah. I just want to set this up. This is what we're going to be talking about today. Today we are talking about the top 3 issues we see that people run into when they're trying to create efficient systems. And after we're done with this, and Carrie and I run through this, we are going to do a giveaway at the end of this session, and we're going to talk about that. So make sure to stick around for that.
So we're going to go over the issues first and then the solutions. So the first big issue is you're not taking on a systems mindset. You're kind of still in a worker mindset. And what do we mean by this? We mean that a worker's mindset is, oh man, I wish I had more hours in the day. If I just had more than 24 hours, then I could do so much more with my time and with my to-do list. However, a systems mindset is, how can I create a system to get this done more efficiently on my behalf? So do you want to expound on that a little bit and talk about being a systems engineer?
It's simple, guys. I mean, you can feel it internally, right? When you're in that systems mindset, you're thinking, okay, really there's one question you're asking yourself. And that question is, how do I make this system run by itself? Right? So that I'm like, how do I design this such that I don't need to be constantly touching it to fix it? And the worker bee mindset, you're asking yourself a different question, which is, how do I fix this?
Yeah.
And you always find yourself, just ask yourself that internally, do that quick survey on yourself. And what you normally find is that when you ask yourself, what question am I asking myself throughout the day? It's usually a question like, how do I get all this work done? And you know when you're asking yourself the question, how do I get all this done, that you're in a worker mindset. Because workers are just focused on, I've got a task list of 100 things, start checking off boxes, ding, 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 ding,
Yes.
right? That's a worker mindset. A systems mindset is, how do I create systems so that this problem solves itself in the future? That's a systems mindset. Instead of the person on the road driving the car, you're the cop directing the traffic, right? You're creating the rules of the road. That's systems versus worker.
So that's kind of like the first big issue we run into.
Yeah, and Carrie, why don't you tell them, like, how does that play out over the long term? So take one business, say business A, and roll it out over the long term as somebody who's being just a worker bee mindset, and then imagine systems being played out over the long term. What's the difference between those two businesses?
Yeah, well, I mean, in the worker bee mindset, you might feel like you're just kind of stuck on the hamster wheel. So if you felt like it's been really hard for you to make big gains and big progress, it's probably because you have this mindset of me, myself, alone. How can I get more of this work done? And over time, if you have a systems mindset, on the other hand, you'll realize that your whole job can actually exist without you even being there. And you'll start to create ways where you're only doing the most value-added work, but there's systems and procedures and other people who are doing the low-value work on your behalf.
Yeah.
And that's really where you want to be long-term. That's where you see what we call hyper-productivity, which is where you can get the work of more than one person done in a short amount of time.
Well, and another thing that I would just add to that is you find that you could become a victim of your own success when you're in the worker bee mindset. Meaning, when you have 5 clients, it's fine, you can do all the work by yourself. But then scale it up to 10, and all of a sudden everything's falling apart. Whereas somebody who creates systems, once those systems are in place, they can scale from 5 to 10 to 15 to 20. They can actually really start to scale. And so you notice in that baby stage of the company, worker bees aren't doing any better or worse than the systems people. But as soon as you get to the next stage and the stage after that, quickly the people who have systems are pulling away, making more money, doing it more effortlessly, actually fulfilling better for the clients.
So that was the first issue. And I want to move on to the second issue, which is you just don't know where to start. I mean, we're talking all this big language about how to create systems and all this thing, but a big issue we find is that you simply don't have a system for creating systems.
Yeah.
So that's one of the big issues we're going to address in the solutions when we get there.
And it's not something like they don't teach it in college, and I'm surprised, but you'd be stunned how many people we have come with high-level MBAs, come into our training, and will tell us that our training is the most advanced training they've ever had on how to create systems in their life and their business. And it's stunning, it's almost offensive that people can go and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars at a business degree and not learn how to create systems in their business. Because I think a lot of these degrees and the programs that we take are focused on big businesses, like corporate. But most of the businesses we're creating in our lives and we're running as small business owners are small-scale businesses. So this isn't something that's taught.
I agree with that, and I also think that when I was in a corporate role, I applied what I knew about my small business world as well to get even better results in corporate. You know, like people are stuck in a corporate mindset that it has to be done a certain way, and it's just not true anymore. And with the modern economy, corporations actually have to evolve to this kind of thinking if they want to maintain a competitive edge. They're a business just like any other business, just slightly bigger. So that's number 2. And number 3 is that systems really just magnify whatever kind of process you currently run. So if you're, unproductive usually, then your systems are just going to magnify that lack of productivity. If you procrastinate a lot, your systems are just going to magnify that. If there's gaps, even subconsciously, if there's gaps in your productivity kind of foundational knowledge and action, then you're not going to be able to build infrastructure on top of that.
Yeah, I mean, she said it all, right?
So if you're ever wondering, why can't I break through to that higher level of wealth, or why can't I seem to get much more done like these other guys out there, then it's usually because you have a gap in that foundation. There's something up with your, the foundation of your productivity knowledge that needs to be filled in.
So Bill Gates has this incredible quote. He says that basically technology and systems is just a magnifying glass. So whatever's there in your life, if you're disorganized, if you can't manage your time, if you can't delegate, if you are terrible at email and communications and you know you need to be better, adding technology and systems to that is just going to magnify that inefficiency. And here's how I know that that's true. When you see somebody who's inefficient, say, oh, I need help, I need to hire a virtual assistant, I need to hire somebody. I promise you, in 2 months later, 3 months later, you're going to hear them saying, I can't manage my people, like I can't, they're not doing a good job for me, and they're not doing exactly what I want. Because effectively, when you layer on a new person or a new technology or a new technique, it's just magnifying what's there. And so if what's there is inefficiency, then you got nothing to work with. You're actually going to make your problems a lot worse.
Absolutely. So let's move into the solutions then, shall we? Because the solutions are where you can actually...
So let's recap the problems.
Okay,
so just to recap the problems. Number one.
So number one is you're not taking a systems approach. You're in a worker bee mindset, not a systems mindset.
Number two, you don't know where to start because there's no classes on this stuff, right? I mean, this education was not given to you.
And number three is that systems simply magnify what's already there. And so if something is there that's not perfectly laid out, like your foundation has a gap in it, then your systems are just going to magnify whatever that lack of efficiency is.
Awesome. So obviously if we stopped here and we just bailed on you, that would be pretty stinky, right? Because we all know those are problems, and I'm sure you're out there nodding your head going, okay, yeah, I get it. What are the solutions? So Carrie, why don't you take us through?
Yeah, so we'll do this a little faster because we did go over some of the solutions before. But in regards to moving from a worker bee mindset to a systems mindset, you really have to shift your mindset to being the systems engineer of your life. And one of the exercises we have our clients do is practice looking at your world and your life as a set of systems and realize that everything that we do in our day, even habits that we subconsciously do, are actually systems that we can change and control and adapt. And so whenever we can shift our thinking from, oh, this is a big problem coming at me, or oh, I didn't do this right, or oh, so-and-so didn't do this right, instead put on your systems engineer hat and say instead, how did this system fail today? What can I do to improve this system? What can I do to create a system that's more efficient?
Yeah. I mean, my dad used to say, indecision is a decision, right? So lack of decision is not lack of decision, it's a decision. And so bad systems are not no systems. You have systems in your life. There's a system for shopping, and a system for feeding yourself, and a system for emailing your clients. The only question is whether it's a good system or a bad system. And I think a lot of us, when we just accept whatever's built up or whatever we improvise, that system is not always the best system. In fact, a lot of times it is a very bad system. So we need to move into recognizing what these systems are and actually deciding that we're going to redesign them and make them optimal.
Absolutely. So that's number one. Number two, in terms of a solution for how you can start systematizing your life, is you need a system for creating all these systems. So a lot of people are just like, well, where do I start? Which one do I choose? Well, you actually need a process by which you can decide which one to start working on and which one to create first. And so we're not going to get into all the nitty-gritty details. We're going to talk about that more in the giveaway section of this
actually,
presentation.
we are, if just a sneak preview, we are going to talk about that in a free masterclass that we're going to be throwing. And if you want to hear more about that, stick to the end because we have a free class that we're going to be teaching just about how to dive into that nitty-gritty. Sorry to interrupt, I just want to make sure they knew about that.
That's fantastic. And then the third thing is, if you do feel like you have gaps in your foundational productivity understanding, the first step is to start there. You need to identify your weaknesses, and then you need to make sure that there's no gaps and that you do everything you can to mitigate those. So, for example, perfectionism. Perfectionism is actually something that can really sabotage you when you're creating systems.
Yeah.
Because if you're worried about everything being just right and being so perfect, then the whole system is going to get delayed. It's not going to be able to run as it was designed, as it were.
Absolutely.
So really thinking very deeply, and most of us already know what our weaknesses are, so it's not too difficult, but taking the time to write those down and find a way to overcome those weaknesses first is really a prerequisite here.
Absolutely.
So I really want to talk about the giveaway we have today. So I'm really, really excited because this is a masterclass that we're going to be doing next week that we've never done anything this intensive and advanced before. So if this conversation, if you know, hey, I need to be systematizing my life even more, then this is the webinar you need to be at. And after the webinar, you're going to feel confident about how to attack systematizing your life.
Yeah. So listen, here's what I want you to do. I want you to join me. I've had an opportunity and been so lucky to be able to coach people for the last 10 years on an individual basis, on a consulting basis, and as a mentor and a boss. I've been able to show people over the last 10 years how to build their productivity foundations and make sure that they're not building a house on top of a bad foundation. And two, how to think about systems in their life, how to see systems in their life, and actually understand which systems first. I got 1,000 systems in my life. What do I start with? You need to find the systems that are going to get you the most impact for the least amount of work. So we teach you a methodology for how to identify systems in your life. And then how do I actually create systems in the best way? What are the technologies I should be using? How do I share my systems? How do I get other people doing work for me? So what I want you to do is I want you to join me in a free online webinar that we're going to be doing coming up very soon. I don't know what the exact date is, but it's going to be coming up soon. The link's going to be somewhere below. So I'd love for you to join me. So if you're, I want to talk really quickly about who would benefit from this. So Carrie, who do you think would benefit from this type of masterclass?
Yeah, so the kind of people who would benefit are solopreneurs who want to grow their business and have more time for themselves. Small business owners who want to create more wealth for themselves and be able to take more vacation time off. Even managers that are responsible for managing their whole team's time and need to master the art of delegation within an organization. All these sorts of people would get so much value out of the live class we're doing.
And then I'll add just one more. If you're somebody who manages other people, either employees or team members, and you are always saying to yourself, man, they just don't get it done right. They just don't do it right. Then you're definitely somebody who's going to want to take this webinar, because we show you how to start thinking about creating systems that are idiot-proof, foolproof, and bulletproof.
Yeah. Perfect. Could not have said it better.
So let me just recap what we talked about today. Today we talked about the 3 problems inside of your systems creation. The problem number 1, you're not taking a systems approach. You're being a worker bee, not an engineer. 2, you don't know where to start, right? What's your system for creating systems? And 3, your systems are magnifying what's there, and what's there is pretty terrible productivity, and you know that, and so basically your systems are making the situation worse because you're magnifying a bad underlying fundamental productivity. And the 3 solutions we covered are moving really from that worker bee mindset to developing a systems mindset, and second, creating a system for creating systems, which is something we're going to show you in the free live webinar that we're going to be doing. And third, solidifying your productivity foundation, making sure there's no gaps and no weaknesses, so that as you build your productivity, everything is magnifying a core basis of awesome productivity.
So to register for the class next week, go to lifehackbootcamp.com/live training, all one word, live training, and you can join there. We'll also have the link below. Make sure you sign up quickly, though, because we only have 20 spots as of this morning. So you want to grab one of those before it fills up. We want to keep it small and intimate, so we're not opening it up to a ton of people.
Yeah, what I love about this format is, sure, we're going to do some instruction, but we're also going to have a lot of Q&A. It's going to be an opportunity for you, frankly, to get some free masterclass coaching from me. So after we cover the content, we're going to have just sort of an open format where you can ask questions and we can do some coaching about your business processes. So I really welcome that. Love that format.
You're going to leave this masterclass having the clarity and the control that you're going to need to continue this journey. I mean, as you know, it's an arduous path, but you're going to be motivated and you're going to have a fire under you to get started right away. It's going to be the motivation you need to get those real results.
I like what you said about clarity. A lot of us, everybody who's listening to this right now, you know that you're smart enough to do this. It's just that you're so busy in your business that you don't have time to go research the best way to create systems in your business, and that's fine. That's why people like us go out there and do it for you, so we can bring you that clarity. And with clarity comes confidence. Once you know what you're supposed to do, people, and I've seen it time and again in our coaching, when you give people a roadmap and they know that roadmap's going to succeed, they just, all of a sudden, that weight is lifted. And even if their business isn't transformed overnight and they still have to build the systems, there's that anxiety that you're carrying around that's lifted in that you know what you need to do now. And that's half the battle, is knowing what you need to do.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining. Make sure to register for the webinar below. We'll have the link. And feel free to comment below with any questions about what you heard today. Thanks.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining Poolside Productivity. We'll see you next time.